Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Now, the government has reportedly declined a request by South African President Cyril Ramaphosa for a state visit to Ghana amid concerns over recent xenophobic attacks targeting Ghanaian nationals and other African migrants in South Africa. The decision follows the repatriation of hundreds of Ghanaians affected by the attacks, with concerns raised over the safety and dignity of Ghanaian citizens abroad. The development comes as tensions remain high over anti-foreigner sentiment in parts of South Africa, with calls for authorities there to take stronger measures to protect migrants. And we'll shortly be speaking to our Foreign Affairs correspondent Martin Adu, who actually joins us live on the line now. Martin, what have you gathered so far about reports that Ghana has declined a request by President Cyril Ramaphosa to visit the country, really, and if you know the reasons being cited for this decision?
Yes, good afternoon to listeners. So information we are gathering indicates that, yes, the South African government, through the president, had wanted a state visit in the first week of August. That is next month. But our sources tell us that the government of Ghana has declined that that request by the South African government, and it is primarily on the reasons of the xenophobic incidents happening in South Africa. You would know that in the very early days of the resurgence of these xenophobic issues, Ghana quickly mobilized resources to move its citizens out of harm's way in South Africa. On the back of that, Ghana also reported South Africa to the African Union Commission, asking that some stringent measures be taken by the mother body, that is the AU, to force South Africa or coerce South Africa to take some strong actions against the xenophobic attacks. And since nothing concrete was coming from or was being seen to be done by the South African government, Ghana quickly moved almost 1,000 of its citizens from South Africa. Our information indicates that about 900 more Ghanaians have registered to leave South Africa. A Ghanaian has died, and that was confirmed by the Ghanaian High Commission. One Bashiru Isaac, a 40-year-old Ghanaian, we are told, died as a result of the xenophobic attack. So Ghana strongly just wants to push the point that you are not able to take care of our citizens. We've taken steps to repatriate them voluntarily from South Africa, and they believe that the problem is if we allow the president of South Africa to come into the country, there's going to be some emotional outbursts by Ghanaians who feel their citizens are not being properly treated in South Africa, for which reason they have declined that request for now, because they fear there could be anger in the country. That's what we know for now.
Indeed. Very briefly, Martin, before you leave us, I know that you mentioned how many more Ghanaians are willing to come back to the country, but do we know of their security situation now?
Well, as of the last time we checked from our sources in South Africa, we are told that the demonstrations have died down to some extent, but there are still threats that these demonstrations could happen again. And just maybe a last point of note, last month, a number of envoys who are diplomats representing about 7 countries presented their letters of credence to President John Mahama. But the Ghanaian government declined the envoy from South Africa, who was also there to present his or her letter, and all because of this xenophobic issue. So security has been heightened. Caution has been given to the Ghanaians in South Africa to stay safe until the situation normalizes, while our authorities there also work to ensure that the safety of Ghanaians remain a priority.
Thank you very much, Martin Adu. He is our Foreign Affairs correspondent. Let's also bring in Dr. Elvis Banwe Muleng Bota, a lecturer at UPSA Center for Peace and Security Research with expertise in international affairs, diplomacy, and global security. Good afternoon to you, Doc. I hope I got your name correctly. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, I was going to commend you highly for getting it, especially my middle name. Good afternoon. Hope you're fine.
Yes, I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much once again for joining us. Now, Ghana has reportedly declined a request for a state visit by Cyril Ramaphosa, the South African president. And you heard our Foreign Affairs correspondent confirming that for us. What diplomatic message could such a decision send to South Africa and really the wider international community?
Okay, so that's a beautiful question to ask, and I extend, my greetings to the listening public. Yes, indeed, we all know the history behind all of these tensions diplomatically between Ghana and South Africa. And I must say that it's not an issue solely between Ghana and South Africa. Is actually, it has become an African continental problem. And so it's as though South Africa is doing this to citizens of almost every other African country. Now, trickling it down to the issue of denial of entry of Ramaphosa allegedly into the Republic of Ghana, it is not diplomatically wrong. In fact, it is one of the most persuasive diplomatic positions Ghana can take without necessarily creating tensions in its diplomatic or foreign relations with South Africa. The implications are that we must balance sovereignty, territorial integrity with foreign policy, which is our diplomatic relations out there. The issue here is that both Ghana and South Africa are major diplomatic pillars of the African Union. Number two, there is a very strong economic relations between Ghana and South Africa, ranging from bilateral, international treaties or bilateral investment treaties, etc. Now, this is where we have to be very careful. And so, what do we do? Because if we outrightly, and I just want to draw the attention to the media on two things. If we proceed to deny His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa entry into Ghana, it is good. It is defensible diplomatically, but that should not be equated to barring him from entering Ghana. The two are not the same. If we bar him from entering Ghana, that comes with some permanency, and that will totally collapse the diplomatic relations we have, and that will outrightly escalate economic and other tensions, of which Ghana may actually eventually suffer a detriment. Given the kind of investment South Africa has here, and our business interests in South Africa.
You've just answered my next question partially. So you do not expect this to strain the bilateral relations between Ghana and South Africa?
Yes, I do not expect it to. In fact, we must avoid that completely. So what then we have to do is to, like I said, deny him entry. That comes with some permanence. And what it does is that it only postpones the visit until such time and on such terms that South Africa will be able to give, one, credible assurances to the Ghanaian government. Number two, investigate a killing. You made mention to the killing of a Ghanaian. That killing has to be investigated and an appropriate report filed to our foreign ministry. Then, assurances in respect of protection of Ghanaian businesses and Ghanaian personnel who are still in South Africa. And of course, that will also offer remedies where state failure has been established. In circumstances, the investigatory report reveals that South Africa has failed as a state to have, complied with the essential provisions of international law and consular relations. We can hold them reprehensible for some remedies. So, yes, diplomatically and legally, Ghana has got basis on sovereign equality. We are not mandated to let any president whatsoever enter our country. It doesn't matter. But most importantly is even the issue that, look, under the Vienna Conventions on Diplomatic Relations, Article 9 gives Ghana the leverage to deny or outrightly bar. But the most sensible option for us as a state, in order not to look vindictive, but still standing firm on our territoriality and its integrity, is to deny him so that we can have an avenue to register our displeasure while still keeping our economic, political, and other relations intact.
And perhaps my last question before you go, this is where we are now, but beyond here, what steps should Ghana and South Africa now take to prevent this issue from escalating into a broader diplomatic dispute that you're concerned about?
Yes, I think that that is a very serious one, because the manifestations so far could end up leading into a diplomatic and security escalation. So the way forward is in fact, Ghana has done well. I think there's been a very lukewarm attitude from South Africa from the angle of a state, all right, in dealing with this xenophobia violence more generally. But in all my analysis in both Ghanaian and foreign media, I've always maintained that we must have some patience for South Africa, considering that what is happening is hate violence. And hate violence is a psychological issue. Now, the aftermath of apartheid is a trauma South Africa as a state and South Africans as a people have actually not healed from. Especially the expropriation of lands have left situations where indigenous black South Africans are controlling less than 30% of land. And that is about the major economic resource in South Africa. So then, the African Union must step in immediately. My advice is that Ghana should immediately formally, petition the African Union Commission, invoke the authority of the Commission as a supranational entity to step into dialogue, mediating between South Africa as a state and Ghana, and this will lead to an agreement which will be binding, and that will allow, or that will put some diplomatic pressure on South Africa to act. That is the way for us to go. For now, we should be restrained in any sanction or any non-renewal of any South African business interest in Ghana linked directly to this matter. If we do that, the reciprocal, adventure South Africa will take will not economically help Ghana.
Thank you so much, Doc, for speaking to us.
Most welcome. Do have a nice day.
I wish you the same. And you heard Dr. Elvis Banwe Muleng Bota, who is a lecturer at UPSA Center for Peace and Security with expertise in international affairs, diplomacy, and global security. Now, the government is also seeking to fast-track the prosecution of illegal mining cases through the proposed Public Tribunals Bill 2026 as part of efforts to ensure the speedy determination of offences under the Minerals and Mining Act 2006, Act 703. Under the bill, mining-related offences will be subjected to strict timelines from the filing of charges to the hearing of cases and the determination of appeals. The bill requires criminal proceedings to be initiated within 21 days after investigations are completed, with tribunals expected to commence hearings within 15 days after summons have been duly served. Trials are also to proceed on a day-to-day basis until completion, with adjournment allowed only under limited circumstances. The bill further bars stays of proceedings, a provision aimed at preventing delays that have often slowed the prosecution of illegal mining offences. The proposal comes amid growing concerns that prosecutions for illegal mining, commonly known as galamsey, often remain in the conventional court system for years, undermining efforts to hold offenders accountable and deter environmental destruction. I'm joined on the line now by Deputy Director Operations at Arusha, Ghana, Daryl Bosu. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good afternoon to you as well.
The government is proposing specialized public tribunals to fast-track illegal mining cases, and we know that the bill has already been submitted to Parliament. What's your reaction to this proposal?
Thank you very much. I must say that, yes, we welcome this because for a long time, civil society has been talking about how the judicial system is not prioritizing cases in relation to environment, and particularly in relation to illegal mining. So to see that this has begun, and with the government and the AG pushing the bill to Parliament is very important. And like you said, I see this, looking at the bill as it is now, as more of a procedural enhancement of all the existing laws. And when it comes to offences and penalties, there are clear guidelines on that through Act 995. It talks about how he should be fined and what the penalty should be. But there has always been a challenge with how long and the processes that takes place before this prosecution terminates. And it is good to see that this tribunal bill is making some procedural changes, which is going to ensure that a lot of these cases are fast-tracked. I mean, if you look at the provisions now, you are looking at the timeline for disposal of cases within 42 days, and already indicated no still proceedings and also adjournments should all be avoided. But I think that that said, it still would need to take into consideration a few other things that currently I think it is missing. Because even though it talks about fast-tracking all of these cases, the paneling of the tribunal, which is talking about persons or people who are going to be judges and all of that, I think we need to also see the presence of some environmental aspects, which can then significantly give input into the technicalities of environmental issues and environmental crimes that come up. At the moment, that is not very, very strong in this bill, and this is something that we need to make sure that we look at. Again, there also seems to be a focus on just the criminal punishment or criminal sentences, which is looking at imprisonment and fines. But I wish it would have been good to also include some restorative, environmental restoration actions, also cleanup costs, and even compensation for affected communities. So I think these are things that we really need to look at. Then again, the bill is looking at some environmental principles, but I feel we are still missing key environmental principles like precautionary principle and also polluter pay. These should be very integral to what informs the bill. And I think this is how maybe if you want to make this work, this bill very progressive in actually dealing with the issues, we can really look at it.
You seem to be excited about the timelines given in this bill to ensure a speedy prosecution, as it were, of those accused of engaging in illegal mining. But you also do understand that the Constitution of Ghana allows for individuals accused not to be treated with contempt, as it were. It states that you're innocent until proven guilty. How do you believe that these timelines would ensure that their rights are not abused, as in they would have fair trial even in this limited time?
Well, I think that these cases, or what that requires, first of all, expedient action and expedient justice, because it's in cases of communities being under siege, or, for example, somebody violating environmental regulations, as long as the evidence is there. That is why it is not just about taking the person to court. The bill makes provisions looking at when evidence should be provided, when the prosecution should be ready, and all of that. So it all falls within the scope of the timelines given. And it also gives everyone who is accused, who is arrested, engaged in all of these activities, also time to look at it. So for me, I think it's a crucial aspect. It doesn't take away anybody's right to really defend themselves, and therefore the fact that these cases have rather been fast-tracked we should be very excited about it, because we have seen a lot of situations where people are arrested, they get bail, their cases drag on for long, while they go back and continue to perpetuate the very actions that they were arrested for. So I think nothing about the bill and the provisions and the timelines indicated is indicating that people will not get fair trial because they will not be given opportunity to also defend themselves. Nothing about the bill will indicate that. I think there's procedural arrangement for when the prosecution should file the cases, and this is very much also in line with the Constitution. Nothing has been abused here, and I believe what is important is that everybody works professionally and work diligently and truthfully and with due consideration with human rights associated with all of these processes. So I don't see any problems at the moment with the bill as it is structured.
Let me ask you my last question, two in one, really. Now, if these tribunals are implemented as proposed, do you think faster trials and quicker judgment will serve as a stronger deterrent to illegal miners, and will it even be the big changer, the game changer, as it were, in terms of Ghana's fight against galamsey?
I think that, what I am rather afraid of is the fact that we will even have this law in place, and yet still our state agencies will find a way not to make the process work. But otherwise, if it is made to work as it's really indicated here, then first of all, it's going to provide the deterrence that is needed, so that when you are caught or when you are found culpable engaging in illegal activity or in violation of Minerals and Mining Act in any way, you are summarily prosecuted, also as indicated in Act 995. So this particular bill makes proposal rather is to enhance already existing laws and frameworks that we have for a long time taken for granted. So in any case, I think it's going to be better off for all of us to see that justice in relation to issues of violations of environmental-related work or environmental-related laws and all of that are respected, necessary deterrents to let people know that this is one area, if you get into, the law will come after you swiftly. So I think it's very, very important that we see how we can support this. And it is very, very important at the end of the day, when the law is passed, all of us will work with the rule of law and to respect and work diligently to apply the law as it should.
All right, we ended here. Thank you very much, Mr. Bosu, for speaking to us.
Thank you so much.
And you had Daryl Bosu. He is Deputy Director in charge of operations at Arusha, Ghana. Thank you so much for speaking to us. 22 minutes past the hour of 12. When we come back, we'll bring you some more. Do stay with us.
Freezer, get the abba. I don't afford the abba. A freezer.
And you're still here on the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. Now, the coordinator of the Flood Mitigation Task Force, Brigadier General Foster Okanyeboa, and his team have visited identified water retention ponds and affected communities. Accompanied by Deputy Chief of Staff Operations Stan Dogbe, the Minister for Water Resources, Works and Housing, Kenneth Ejay, and 15 Engineer Brigade Commander, Brigadier General Richard Kine. The team visited the Tessa Dam near East Legon Boundary Road, Damfa, Amrehia, and Oyarifa. The team also visited Peshi Lagoon, where the 48th Engineer Regiment, where there is continued dredging and a major storm drain along Teshi Bush Road near the ICGC Temple East in Accra. Take a listen to Brigadier General Foster Okanyeboa and the Minister for Works and Housing and Water Resources when they visited the area.
After the downpour, and after the conduct of the reconnaissance by His Excellency the President, we also conducted some recce to look at areas where we think we can conduct some operations to mitigate the impact of the rain. We can't stop the rains. So based on that, we conducted some recce to places like Dampa, Oyarifa, places like Oyarifa, New York Junction, the Peshi area and the Boundary Road area. And then after that, we decided that we're going to conduct operation such that we'll tackle the discharge, the source, before we come to the cause of water bodies. So as we speak, we've started some work on the patient dredging, and the system is ongoing. Yesterday, we did some work in Okaikwe North just to silt some culverts. So going forward, we'll tackle the discharge area, which is the patient. We'll dredge those areas. They will come upstream beneath the foothills of the mountains, tackle some water retention areas that people have built on, and then we'll tackle the cause of water bodies.
As we heard our general speaking, that of engineering part, government is ensuring that we do it. What we are going to also tackle is the behavioral part. And we plead with Ghanaians that when we get there, we need their full support. What I mean with the behavioral part is where people have built in waterways. The last time during the press conference, General mentioned that in places that we need to demolish, we have to. We all know what we witnessed some few weeks ago. We don't want it to happen again. So when we get there, we need the full support of Ghanaians.
This place is Damfa Oyarifa, just beneath the foothills of the Ebri. So a portion falls in Damfa, a portion is in Oyarifa. This is one of the natural holding sites. Now Oyarifa in the past, because it's just located right under the foothills of Ebri, it's supposed to have a holding capacity. So in the past, this place was mainly for agricultural purposes because of such natural holding points. But as we speak, this point has the capacity to hold, but the water is not having direct access to the pond. People have blocked the waterways. So the water has to find a course before getting to this point. If we're able to clear the waterway and increase its capacity, it can hold some water for some time, then release gradually, so we prevent flooding downstream. And the gradient would allow us to hold it and then release it. But if we allow it to go as it is now, the speed with which it will go, the lag time of getting to Accra will be very short and will cause more havoc.
It seems there are a number of buildings blocking the waterway, so the direct access into the pond has been blocked. And we have to clear some of the structures so that the rivers or streams have direct access into the pond. Once it gets into the pond, its outlet will be controlled.
And you also had I brought you earlier the Minister for Works and Housing, plus some officials, including Garrett, the Garrett project official. Joseph Armstrong Alugbe is my colleague who's been with them during this tour. He joins us live on the phone. Joe, what more can you tell us?
Yeah, hello?
Armstrong, we can hear you. What more can you tell us beyond what we've heard the officials tell us?
So I'm touring the wetlands around the Peshi Lagoon area and assessing the dredging that is currently happening, led by the government task force here at Peshi.
Tell us what has happened so far, what you can see.
So what I see now is bulldozers trying to silt and dredge the choked or silted Peshi Lagoon here. That's what I can see. We also went around where we've seen that regardless of the dredging happening in the Peshi Lagoon, the other side of the lagoon is still being encroached by developers. You see them even bringing in more light right. And they also have their excavator filling portions of the Peshi Lagoon. That is happening right now. So if the task force can hear us, we want to move in there to see if reclaiming that portion is not part of what government says they should stop happening here right now. So if the task force can hear us, they can just move in towards the Peshi Lagoon area and see what is happening. Whilst one side they are dredging and floating the lagoon, another side they are filling it with smaller sites.
Well, let's hope that they hear and go act on it. Thank you very much, Joseph Armstrong Alugbe. He's my colleague currently monitoring what's happening within the Peshi Lagoon. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us on the Midday News here on 3FM 92.7. Log on to 3news.com for more news. Coming up shortly is Business Daily with Inyunam Haliga.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to Business Daily on 3FM 92.7. Coming up this afternoon, Cybersecurity Authority sounds alarm as Ghanaians lose 3.43 million cedis to exploding online investment scam. Also, flooded capital businesses demand share of government's 300 million cedis relief package to rebuild and recover.
Of that, at least to help us take care of our costs and our damages. Also, if we could get some reliefs, we'll be grateful.
Also, Food and Beverages Association of Ghana demands halt to mandatory Easy Pass policy, warning of skyrocketing business costs and consumer prices.
Massive delays in the importation of goods, it will lead to high cost of doing business. Ensure that they enforce the regulations to the letter rather than introducing one policy or another.
I am Enyunam Haliga. We're bringing you details of our headlines and other stories. Please stay with us. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. We'll start off on some alarming note as the Cybersecurity Authority has issued an urgent public alert following a massive surge in online investment fraud, which has fleas unsuspecting Ghanaians of a staggering 3.43 million cedis in the first 6 months of 2026 alone. There's more in this report by 3%.
According to the Cybersecurity Authority, threat actors recorded 352 cases between January and June, exploiting social media ads, WhatsApp groups, and mobile money channels to lure victims with promises of impossibly high quick returns. The fraudsters frequently mimic reputable global brands, such as using the alias Daraz to counterfeit the legitimate Pakistani e-commerce firm Daraz, alongside other rotating names like Daily Trade, G8 Store, Kuka, and eDollar. Victims are typically pressured into digital tax-based ventures, crypto mining leases, or fake business schemes. In many instances, scammers use emotional manipulation or distribute small initial payouts to build false trust before freezing accounts and vanishing once larger sums are committed. As mobile money deepens its footprint in Ghana's everyday economy, the CSA is warning citizens that any platform promising guaranteed high-yield returns with zero risks is almost certainly a trap. The public is strongly urged to verify all financial opportunities through official regulatory channels and immediately report suspicious activities to the CSA.
That was a 3 Business News Desk report on the Cybersecurity Authority, sounding alarm as Ghanaians lose 3.43 million cedis to exploding online investment scams. Meanwhile, the Bank of Ghana has warned that the nation's booming digital ecosystem faces a critical trust crisis as fraudsters increasingly abandon technical hacking to target human vulnerabilities instead. Speaking ahead of the Maiden Digital Economy Forum, the central bank's head of fintech and innovation indicated and emphasized that even the most advanced cybersecurity authority systems and firewalls are rendered useless the moment a customer is manipulated into voluntarily surrendering their PINs, passwords, or one-time passwords. At a social engineering tactics like fake customer service calls and fraudulent WhatsApp group spikes across the country, officials stress that the future of Ghana's digital economy hinges on public education. Regulators and financial institutions are urging citizens to remember a simple rule. No legitimate bank or mobile money operator will ever ask you to share your authorization credentials. Now, moving away from that, businesses in parts of the capital affected by recent flooding are calling on the government to allocate part of the planned 300 million cedis relief package to help them recover and resume operations. The president announced the intervention after torrential rain submerged homes, businesses, and other structures, leaving many counting significant losses.
The constant hum of generators pumping floodwater, the piles of mud and debris, and the expressions of despair tell the story of communities struggling to recover. Last week's heavy rains inundated several parts of the capital within hours, catching many residents and business owners off guard.
That's Nizam bus, yeah. water entered it. This morning we have to drain and then take care of them. So in fact, we face a very hectic problem this morning.
Many are still coming to terms with the scale of their losses.
I know how much effort and time we put into this. Losing this amount of goods was really shocking. I started crying like a baby.
For others, uncertainty now extends beyond damaged property, with concerns growing over the security of their jobs.
90 plus staff, we might have to downsize to be able to manage the situation in the meantime. That means that a lot of people are going to go home, and then incomes for households are going to be cut short, families are going to be affected.
In response to the disaster, the president directed that 300 million cedis be made available to support relief and recovery efforts. But business owners say part of the fund should be used to help affected enterprises reopen, protect jobs, and restore livelihoods.
We're hoping that we'll get a piece of that, at least to help us take care of our costs and our damages. Also, if we could get some reliefs, we'll be grateful. Because as you can see, a lot of the goods are perishable goods. They're all damaged. And as it stands now, there's not much we can do.
And you heard some business owners demanding a share of the government 300 million cedis relief package for victims of the recent flood to recover and rebuild their businesses. Now to some other stories, the Food and Beverages Association of Ghana has issued a strong appeal to the president to immediately suspend the Ghana Standards Authority's mandatory Easy Pass program, warning it will severely disrupt trade and trigger inflation. The policy, which mandates that selected imported goods undergo inspection and certification in their country of origin before shipment, took effect under the direct Ghana Standards Authority management on July 1, 2026. However, FABAC's executive chairman, Reverend John Awuni, strongly contends that the program will fail to curb the influx of substandard goods and instead act as a necessary tax by another name.
Massive delays in the importation of goods, it will lead to higher costs of doing business. It's not going to stop the introduction or presence of substandard goods in the country, because we also have huge levels of smuggling. Our borders are not strong enough. So at the end of the day, it is important for these institutions to strengthen themselves, these institutions to do their core functions, deal away with levels of corruption at the ports of entry, and ensure that they enforce the regulations to the letter, rather than introducing one policy or another, just creating layers of taxes, layers of costs for businesses. We call on His Excellency, the President, to live up to his expectation, or to live up to his promise, for that matter, of reducing the cost of doing business by halting the implementation of this program. During his campaign, he promised us that when he comes in, he will reduce the cost of doing business. He will reduce the layers of taxes, particularly at the port. But this is not what we are seeing. The AI publican has been introduced. This gives higher values, and we are still dealing with this particular issue. And then electricity prices are going up, utility prices, water, electricity are going up. Exchange rate is still high. Demand is extremely low in this country, and businesses are battling with this day in and day out.
And you hear the voice of the chairman of the Food and Beverages Association of Ghana, Reverend John Awuni, demanding an immediate halt to a mandatory Easy Pass policy, warning of skyrocketing business costs and consumer prices. And that's how we end Business Daily on 3FM 92.7. For more news, please check our website at 3news.com. I am Enyunam Halika. Black Rasta is up next.